of indie wrestling fans that think they have to fight outside, but they were doing pretty good. They didn't need that necessarily. MJF puts the ring on, the diamond ring, and goes to swing, but the referee catches it. Okay, now I guess we've just universally given up on the idea that catching a guy with a foreign object in the act of intending to use it is not any longer the automatic disqualification it was for 120 years or so.
No, the guy actually has to be caught doing it for it to be a disqualification.
Anyway, and then Brody King got the sleeper and gave him the big Gonzo bomb. 2 count. And that thing looks pretty good too, but 2 count. And then MJF was able to get back on Brody King by taking his knee brace off and getting back on the knee. Okay, after the Gonzo bomb, I don't know if I would have gone back on top of Brody enough to immobilize him, get the brace off or whatever the fuck. But they have the stagey apron fight where they're each trying to do something on the apron. And then MJF hits some type of slammage maneuver on the apron and then hit his heat seeker 1, 2, 3. I thought the finish was flat. I think the back and forth on the apron killed the pretty good momentum that they had going and that people were into, whatever the fuck. If they had to do that Gonzo bomb, after the Gonzo bomb, instead of MJF kicking out, they could have Gonzo bombed and MJF get the ropes. And then, again, he could have just stopped Brody briefly, even gouged his eye or fucking thrown him into the post for a second to get the brace off and then miss some kind of big deal to the leg, right? He's going to do his double stomp that he does to the arm. Maybe he's going to do it to the fucking leg. And Brody moves and he misses that. And Brody goes for the Gonzo again, but his leg goes out. And MJF comes down on top and hooks fucking heights. 1, 2, 3. Instead of then you've got these guys at a kind of a slow pace on the apron back and forth. And then MJF hit the slam thing, which Brody kind of bounced partially off the ropes or whatever, but it's dangerous out there. And then just hits his heat seeker and 1, 2, 3. That's kind of flat. But that's just me.
What do you think of the booking here for Brody King? Because obviously, the picture is the Adam Page MJF match. Adam Page has got the last few victories over MJF. We got to think MJF is due. I'm hoping we got Omega down the line. But it's the all out, which is obviously Tony Khan's long-term booking. Obviously, that's where he's been wanting to go. Brody King got over really big in the midst of it, in a way they didn't expect, but it happened. The average person has no idea who he is, even if they're aware of that moment where the champ broke out. But that video of the champ breaking out went everywhere, and the people that were into Brody King are more into him today than they were a few weeks ago. Do you do anything different? I mean, it seemed like they booked this match and they went to the finish of this match the same way they would have if none of that happened. Right?
Well, and that's the thing is that that's why I think the finish was flat. I don't think it. I mean, MJF has needed to get wins, and I've been saying that as world champion, and they were going to switch the belt, although, god damn, it would have been better to have Brody King as champion instead of Page or Moxley again or these other knuckleheads. But that's what I'm saying is that this just kind of beat Brody. You could have, again, done it to where MJF got some heat out of it, and Brody still, the people could say, oh, he could have, if he got that Gonzo bomb and the fucking Weasel made the ropes, and then he tried it without the knee brace on and couldn't execute it, and that's what and then MJF got the opportunity to cheat, that's the out. That's what the babyface's out is. The fans in their mind could say, well, if he still had that brace on, he could have given him that Gonzo bomb, and then he would have had him. That's the way that, again, normal fucking wrestling fans for 120 years would have viewed that particular finish. Now, instead of the millions of those people, we have the tens of thousands that will just debate this goddamn to death and shuck it all the way down to the fucking cob. But basically, it's logic. It's fucking, that's how you manipulate people's fucking emotions.
Again, I'm not saying this is Flair versus Sting at the first Clash, which elevated Sting back over all the fans were already getting into him. That's kind of why it worked. That took things and pushed it further. I do a draw. They already did a draw on the show. And again, the long-term plans right now are not Brody King and MJF. It's not Brody King as world champion. It's all the other guys that are in the world title picture. But there's got to be something to do to...
All he had to do was cheat. I mean, he cheated through the match in various places, but he didn't cheat they just had the awkward exchange, and then he slapped him on a hard thing and then dropped him on his head. That's beating somebody, not cheating.
Should you bring in someone to feud with Brody, like JC Ice or maybe Ice Train from WCW? That might be something.
Where's King Parsons when you need him? He's got his back. Come out and represent his former party or people, whatever the fuck. I keep Brody King away from Bandito because they've established him as a single and as a pretty popular babyface, and I don't think he needs to be doing stupid things with Bandito. I think they keep him in the mix, or they should try to. And maybe Okada's spot. So just nobody wake Okada up from his next nap. Give Brody King Okada's spot.
Well, that was AEW Collision in Australia, and of course, Jim, a lot of wrestlers flying back to the States. You may think about some of the booking issues and say, Tony's got to quit. Quit booking bad television shows, whatever it may be. But he's not the only one. There's lots of listeners out there, Jim, who may need a little help to quit their bad habits.
Well, then you got to change their habits. Is what they got to do. You got to change your habit, Brian, from a bad habit to a good habit. You've got to modify your behaviors, your emotions, your fixations, things and such of that nature. And that's why we are so happy to tell the people about our new friends. And Brian, I made a mistake. I said that it was fun. Because I've heard the old poem Feed 5 Fo Fum, and I saw F-U-M. I said, well, there's fum. It's the company is fum, but it is not fum. And I don't want anybody to think that. I will fight you if you call it fum. It'll be a fum fight that you'll have with me, because it's film with an umlaut. Film over the U there, the little drama there at the top of film. It's the way that it's pronounced, and I'm not sure whether the company is based in the Netherlands yet or not, but they got fresh air for sale is what they got, folks, with flavorings. Because here's the thing. If you're smoking and you're vaping, then you've got not only a bad habit, but you have established a hand-to-mouth pattern. Brian, follow me on this. You got something in your hand, you take it to your mouth. You take it out of your mouth, you keep it in your hand. This is a habit, a pattern, a fixation. It's something that people do. And when you can't do that, then the cravings to do that begin to take over, and they pollute your mind, and they take over your senses. And then you hear music like from a William Castle movie in the early 1960s. But if you break that motion, and instead you replace it with another motion, then that motion is carried. And many people say that then the jury is in and the verdict is not guilty. And you can get off of whatever it is that you did. See how easy it is to quit smoking and vaping with fume?
Well, it's certainly. I certainly don't understand your example. I guess is the best way I could.
Well, I did my math right in front of me when I got there. Folks, your fume fidget device will come to you, and it's ornately, I think it's hand carved and possibly with some kind of silver-plated nickel from the Isle of Spain. But it replaces your vape or your smoke. And you suck on this thing, which is you're going to be inhaling flavored air. Flavored doesn't matter with air. We all need it. And now it's flavored. And just look at these flavored, bro. They sent all these packets. They got cinnamon hearts and orange vanilla and peach blush and mango and crisp mint and tutti fruity, and I believe there's some burnt tire there, but
there's no burnt tire. That's not one of the ones.
No, that's what you send. Well, if you don't like people, you send them that, and then laugh at them later. No, what you do is you just load up the fidget device and you stick that in your mouth and you suck on it. But you don't taste chocolate salty balls. You taste flavored air that will replace the nicotine and the chemicals and the noxious gases and these days. What are they vaporizing into their lungs? Could it be some type of Agent Orange? You don't know what's in your shit. So this is just air and flavor.
Yes, not with fume. Things you don't have to worry about with fume.
That's what I'm saying. That's what you're trying to get off of with the fume. When you know it's fume, it's refreshing air and a little fidget device. And I'm just, there's a lot of rich information, but I'm sure it's air and it's flavoring. They stomp the grapes themselves for this, ladies and gentlemen, with bare feet. There's some Pakistani women that have no place to go. And they stomp the various berries for the flavoring for your fume, and they're barefoot because that's why it tastes better. See, they got nicotine on the soles of their shoes. Most of the people take those flavored vapes. But you can decide for yourself, folks. When you grab a Journey Pack, you'll also get a free gift just for using my code JCE when you go to, and this is what made me throw me off, Brian. It's Tryfum, but it's spelled Tryfum. So some people may pronounce it tryfum.com. Have you heard about people? Has there been any questions asked?
I've heard no questions. We specified it's fume, F-U-M, fume.
And the don't want it to say
above the U.
But you don't have that on your computer. See, in the United States, you only have that in the Netherlands, where it's the... So just tryfum.com is what you're typing in. But you'll pronounce it when you speak it out loud, and you will. They're going to say my name over and over so you can get this free gift. Tryfum.com. Use the code JCE to get your free gift when you grab a Journey Pack. But again, the little device, you hold it in your hand, you suck on the air, just put it in your mouth and suck on it. And it's healthy air instead of noxious chemicals and potentially some kind of carbon monoxide or monoxicillin or something like that. That's what some of these vapes, it's been proven they grow hair on the inside of your lungs.
Stop making things up here at the end. That has not.
That's why one of the products with the hair removal is for internal use, where you have to remove the hair from the inside of your lungs. It's caused by smoking with moxidil.
Again, don't know about
none of that.
Don't know about any of that, but one more time for those of you out there who are looking to replace your bad habits with a good habit. One more time, Jim, a great deal for the listeners.
Tryfum.com. and use the code JC when you pick up the Journey pack of the fidget movement and the flavored air. You'll also get a free gift, which who knows what that could be. Could be like one of Christine Jarrett's surprise packages. You never know what you're going to get a free goddamn gift. That'd be gratis. You pay nothing. Trinity.com/bids. Well, that goes without saying. Keep the fun still on. Just take the drive-through. Jim Cornette's drive-through. Baby.
More wrestling talk, but on the topic of drive-thrus, a lot of listeners have wanted to get your thoughts. Something here. Wendy's is reportedly expected to close between 5% and 6% of its U.S. restaurants, or 298 to 350 locations. The first half of this year, the underperformance, and according to this person, its competitors. They're going to focus more on quality moving forward, according to number 25 News. Have you seen any of these reports?
Yes, I have. It's a dark day. It's a very dark day. But they're going to focus on the stores that they say aren't underperforming, which basically means they're closing 300 and something stores across the country, hopefully thinking that that means that the people that used to go to those stores will just go to another Wendy's store. Instead of addressing the problem, then nobody wants to go to Wendy's anymore because it sucks now.
That's right.
And it's a shame of the once great institution. That old girl, she was by prom date. She was by, boy, we would hold hands under the moonlight, me and Wendy back in the day, and now it just, bleh. What's that? She's on crack. They changed the meat, not only the smashing of the meat, but just the meat itself. They changed the pickles, they changed the lettuce, and it did upset us. They got rid of the fries and did whatever the fuck they did to them now that they're like random peelings that they scraped up off the floor.
The grilled chicken sandwich. I ranted and raved about that a few years ago when they got rid of it. It was delicious and was the healthiest possible option on any fast food menu, and they got rid of it.
And the Asiago grilled chicken sandwich was something that I would even eat in exchange instead of grilled hamburger meat. So, and then honestly, when all fast food service has gone downhill, and to be honest, they're making almost no money, and they don't want to be there to begin with. And you got managers that don't give a shit. But Wendy's closest to me. During the pandemic, I understood it, but then they continued it for about 6 months after everything had opened up. They just closed at 6 o'clock at night. That doesn't fuck anybody who wants to eat it. No, 6 o'clock. Yes. They were done at 6 o'clock at night. And now they've got a Freddy's Steak Burgers opened up right next to them, and you can again set off nuclear weapons in their parking lot, wouldn't injure anybody because everybody's over at Freddy's. They brought this on themselves, Brian, is what I'm saying to the people at Wendy's. And I'm glad that Dave is not here to see this dark time.
He wouldn't have allowed it.
I even used to love when I would go to Ohio because the Wendy's around Columbus, like within a 100-mile radius, was the fucking best of all of them because you never knew when he might stop in or go to the drive-thru or whatever. They all were on top of their shit, and boy, it was great. And then as you got further out, it got a little iffy, but they brought it as self-inflicted wound.
I recently did a fast food taste test with my kids because Just want to try different things depending on what toy is in a Happy Meal or a kid's meal. So I said, let's test it out. Burger King, McDonald's, and Wendy's. What is the one best burger?
These days, probably McDonald's.
Burger King.
No, really?
Yeah, and I agree. It was the best of the 3 hamburgers, by far Burger King. McDonald's got best fries, no surprise, but Burger King fries are pretty good too.
She got a high problem, at least she used to, when I used to travel with the Burger Kings in the South along Interstate 65 or 75, looking like they just had a cattle drive run through the lobby.
Well, this has been Drive-Thru News, quite literally. Jim, let's get a few questions before we get to Raw, because we just talked about classic wrestling. Let's give it a few minutes.
Current wrestling is what you say.
Our current wrestling. We're also drunk, ladies and gentlemen, here today.
Would you like to just start that whole thing over again, or just press on?
Let's press on. Jim, let's get to some questions here before we get to Raw. This one was sent via the Cult of Cornette Facebook group by Dave Parsons. We have all heard the old trope countless times. For big man matches, the ring has been reinforced. Does Jim know of any time when the ring actually had to be reinforced for real?
Kind of, sort of, yes. I will explain if this is the... I wonder if this is the Dave Parsons I know. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me out. That's the one. But if not, I apologize or digress. But nevertheless, that used to be a thing, and especially during period, what was it, like late 60s through the mid 70s, when not only Haystacks Calhoun was active, but then the other Haystacks Calhoun that worked a lot of the West Coast became Man Mountain Mike. That was kind of the gimmick, and then the McGuire twins came along, and so sometimes they would do battle royals with one or more of those people added to the mix, or sometimes there'd be the McGuire twins as a tag team against anybody, but I think they did a Haystacks Calhoun and Man Mountain Mike battle royal in Los Angeles, if memory serves. And anyway, we've reinforced the ring because these guys, because the combined weight is whatever, and I don't think they really ever did. I wasn't there at every time that was ever said, so I can't testify to it in court, but that was just more of a marketing tag than anything else. But there was one time where the ring, a ring that you could get available in the wrestling business, wouldn't hold what they wanted to put in it, and that was when Jerry Jarrett came up with the idea to book the 50-man battle royal. I don't think there's any videotape that still exists yet. And they only had, I'm pretty sure there was only 2 of them. And I saw one. The other was in Memphis. I wasn't there. But
was it the same time period when they had them?
It was the same fucking week. It has Memphis and Lexington at Rupp Arena. And I think he did it because that's when he had first opened up Lexington. This was 1978, and he wanted a spectacular attraction that some people hadn't seen to put in there, and it worked. That Lexington in '78, within 6 months, the houses were triple what he started, 6 months before with. But nevertheless, so the 50-man battle royal, the weight is not the deal in the ring. Unless your boards are rotten or there's some major problem with your ring, the guys in the battle royal, that is a lot of weight, but it's distributed, and you've got, the usually metal crossbars underneath the ring, blah, blah, blah. But they just couldn't physically get 50 guys in a regular wrestling ring, right? And this when he had first started working Jarrett with the AWA, and he brought some of the big names down, and he had a full crew of guys. But also for the Lexington one, they booked the Outlaw guys in the Eastern Kentucky, and some guys came up from Knoxville and were working for Ron Fuller, but I mean, I recognized names from this little outlaw group that Dale Mann used in front of 60 people in Georgetown, Kentucky back then. And I think they got to 47 and thought nobody would notice, but I had the ring announcer sheet. During intermission, I wrote everybody down, right? But nevertheless, Eddie Harlan, on Jarrett's, specs and authorization, built a special rig to hold the 59. But it was only going to be used a couple of times and then not used again, so they didn't get ring posts made, and they didn't get specially measured metal crossbars made and welded and all this shit. It was a 30 by 30 foot ring, right? Never seen one that big before. Eddie made it all out of 2x4s. Even the ring posts were giant 4x4 or 6x6 fence posts. And they had to bring it on this fucking flatbed trailer, and he had to be there to show this crew of guys how to assemble this. Got every bit of the ring was made out of timber fours and wood, except for the eye bolts or the circle bolts, whatever the fuck they call them. He threw into the ring posts so that they could put ropes up. And the ropes, because they didn't have cables that had already and wrapped and had turnbuckles and everything on them, they just unwrapped ropes. So like you get it goddamn Home Depot. So it was the most bizarre thing that I've ever seen anybody work in. They had single matches in a 30-foot ring. It looked like Cowboy Lang and Little Tokyo when they had Lawler and LeDuc against each other. And then when they did the Battle Royal, the ring filled up, but once it got down to like the last 3 or 4 people in those ropes, there was no tension in them, so you couldn't hardly run and hit them. Joe LeDuc jumped up and did a leg drop in his match and landed on that thing, and it was like landing on the goddamn pavement, because there was no give, because it was held up by 2x4s. So that was the most bizarre reinforced ring I've ever seen.
Well, Jim, we'll try to get to a few more questions after we talk about Raw, but why don't we talk about last night as we are recording WWE Raw in Memphis, Tennessee, your old stomping grounds. Let's talk about it.
Well, I wish I had have stomped in there and stomped out. I want to keep an eye on some of my favorite people on Raw, and unfortunately, Braun Breaker is out. And by the way, now I guess even said somewhere it's his stomach instead of his crotch, at least has the hernia. So it's still, it can't be every bit as serious and every bit as painful, but at least they're not going to have a knife that close to his dick. I don't see how that he can be ready to perform at the level he performs at in 8 weeks after hernia surgery. I just really don't. You're in danger for the first couple weeks of sneezing too hard. But at least it's better than, which would you rather have? A knife 2 inches from your heart or 2 inches from your dick?
I may not want to play this game. This is not my hypothetical game that I want to see.
I asked the doctor on both of mine just to make sure. I said, now, there's no way you can cut any of the hydraulics down there, is there? They said, no, everything worked out fine. But anyway, so, are you laughing?
The hydraulics, that got me. I'm sorry, I hadn't thought of it that way. I'm going to ever think of it another way again.
Never know when, you could cut the wrong thing and snip, and down goes the awning.
Well, again, Braun Breaker out. He gets taken over as the leader of the Vision with Seth Rollins being out, which necessitated them kind of turning a babyface without him being there.
And now, the Vision is getting more nearsighted by the day. If you're the top guy in the Vision, you're going down, motherfucker. They started the show with the Yeet Party with the Usos, the Usos coming down, but the Vision interrupt them. Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, Austin Theory, who look great together, by the way. Again, that's a heel stable. I like the looks of that together. And Heyman. And I don't like the looks of it, but it looks good on them. Logan Paul does an excellent heel promo. We've established part of that is because he really is apparently a dick, but also he's an updated Buddy Landell. That is a compliment in this respect. And they showed the tape of where the Masked Man screwed Theory last week, and then Theory got a chance to speak a little bit, get fired up, but Adam Pearce interrupted, and they went back and forth. And Theory's not going to stand up for this being treated this way. And Paul Lee wants Bronson Reed in the Elimination Chamber. And they'll leave the ring if they get that, and Pearce and Reed can earn it next week. And then LA Knight's music plays, and he's, again, the people love him, and he gets a pop. And it works. And they like the promo, and they like yagging along. And he trashed Reed and Logan Paul and made the challenge for the six-man that by then we obviously knew was coming because the Usos are still standing in the fucking bleachers with their dicks in their hands. And Pearce made it official, Usos and LA Knight against Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, and Austin Theory, which we went right into at that point in time. Ron, before I run off and leave you, thoughts on the oratorial portion of our program this evening?
I almost didn't see it. I almost ran off and left it because when they went right to the Usos doing their thing in the hallway about to come out, I stopped and was saying, you know what, I'll watch this tomorrow. And luckily the Vision kind of got out there real quick. Logan Paul was positioned kind of as the leader now. In some ways. Austin Theory, I thought, showed a little bit more fire on the mic here than you see from him. And it was good. I thought it was good. He's starting to show a little more personality, the way he's dressing, the way he's acting. I don't know. And you might say anything nice about Austin Theory, but there's so many listeners that jump on you, so I'm scared to say anything nice about him.
Well, exactly. Well, I'm not, so I will. Here's again for the uninitiated. When I talk about somebody like this with Bron Breakker from 2-3 years ago, I'm not necessarily always saying that they are fully formed and that they are the greatest talent in the world right now. I'm saying this is a guy you need to invest in. This is a guy that you don't need to dick around with. This is a guy that you need to groom for the future. This is a guy that's going to be a big-time player and a puppy with big paws. And you can tell with Theory, again, like you said, his body looks better. He's dressing more oomphy. He had more fire on the mic. He's a guy you can tell his work is technically is fabulous in the ring. But also he's working hard. He's trying instead of just doing a bunch more moves. You can tell that when he's criticism or constructive criticism, or that he's trainable, he's coachable, he's improving, he's growing, and he's making the most of whenever he gets an opportunity. You can see it on his face now because he's been in limbo for so long. So that's the kind of guy you want to fucking invest your time and efforts in, and it will be fairly obvious in the next few years, but for now, people are like, yeah. And especially if he didn't do that move or whatever. Even one of Vocal Dave's minions was like, well, Kyle is so much better. Kyle might be a fucking better athlete. He might run a quicker 40-yard dash or whatever. But it's who learns best, who's coached best, who's given the best opportunities and the best program that goes on to the best success. So you got that.
He was talking about coaching. He's going to have a personal coach with Heyman. If you're someone who can have a conversation and talks about wrestling, you're going to learn a lot from Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman's going to start pointing out to you all the things you should highlight, all the things you shouldn't. It's only going to help him.
But besides that, all these Nimrods out there in the area again, Cornette, Paul Heyman, even in it too, he's wrong. He's in love with a guy that's, the shits or whatever. He picked him to put in the group. That's obvious. So, again, just sit back and watch what's going to happen, because we already know, and we're trying to tell you ahead of time. You don't accept it's not a fault.
Well, back to this, and LA Knight comes out there. Everything they've done to him, he's still super over. You know what, right now, with everything kind of being stale, if there was ever a time to fucking give him the push, maybe it's time. I don't know. But,
well, they might have to.
Yeah, more guys get hurt every week. So I thought that was good. But I was kind of in and out on the match. I hate the Usos. I hate is a strong word. It's a hell of a mother. Too strong. I don't enjoy watching Uso stuff. It was a lot more enjoyable when they were just doing dramatic segments. They were the guys that could pull it off. Specifically Jey Uso.
Well, that's the thing is, but to give this match something, they got heat on LA Knight and left the Usos on the apron for a while. Because he's the only babyface that can really work. It's got to be difficult to work with the Usos with their odd timing and flailing about sometimes. But LA Knight hit the tag to Jey, and it was a hot tag. He set it up, and it was great. And Jey made the comeback. Hit something, got a 2 count, got kind of lost. Then, spear. Got a new 2 count. And then they just repeated something. LA Knight got laid out. Or no, LA Knight first laid out Austin Theory on the floor, but then Reed put LA Knight through the barricade. And then the Usos double-teamed Logan Paul, but Reed dove on both the Usos. But Logan Paul knocked out Jimmy. And then Reed splashed Jimmy 1, 2, 3. It was actually a pretty good finish and done well because they didn't step on each other. And they got the point across. But obviously these heels they got to push this group a little bit harder now because it's lost members, and you don't want that to be the wet blanket on it. But good finish, done well, and then Logan Paul is at the desk yelling at the announcers, and the masked man came out and gave him the stomp on the table and then ran off. I'm wondering if they ought to have Austin Theory as the masked man against some other fucking masked man as the WrestleMania match now if they can't have Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker.
Thank you, Masked Man.
Thank you, Masked Man.
The match. That's right. I don't know. I hope they have someplace to go, because, another trait of Paul Heyman stuff is, well, that's a really cool idea. I wonder where it's going to go. And it never goes. It keeps happening, and then it just never ends.
It's like you're circling because of bad weather. You're still in the air, but you're not sure where you're going to fucking end up.
That's a very Paul Heyman thing, All right, Paul, what are we going to do? We have no wrestler for this match. Oh, turn the lights off. What? Just turn the lights off, and then turn them back on. Okay. Same thing here. It's one of those Paul Heyman justified things.
But right now they say all of the WrestleMania matches are up in the air because of the injuries and changes and etc. And they got to figure it out pretty soon. So who knows who that masked man will be, Kimo Sabe? But would you like to get to the big segment that's going to sell all the tickets, Brian, the big mystery, the thing that's going to save the business and make everything all right, the box. You're going to get to the box.
It's one of those things that happened, and everyone immediately thought of you. There's certain things. If Vince Russo dies, everyone's going to be like, Jim Cornette, where's Jim Cornette? If a box shows up on wrestling,
yeah.
you've become the biggest proponent of the box in professional wrestling.
Well, and again, this is going to be another example, I believe, of is it a homily, or is it an old chestnut, or one of the tropes that the kids talk about? Good, and we'll explain for people who might be new listeners and halfway lost, but a box, a big giant wooden crate shows up in the back in the WWE Raw building there, and the Stooge it's brought it to Adam Pearce. I figured, well, what's in it? Why didn't open it? Why did he open it? Because it said do not open until February 28, 2026, which is the Elimination Chamber. And so Pearce is like, oh my God, what do about that? I mean, tell you what, ship it over to Aldous and let him worry about it.
He can't open his Elimination Chamber. Why did you ship it here? That'd be my next question.
But that's the thing is it's like tearing the tag off the mattress. Is there a federal penalty? Are they going to come to your house if you just fucking didn't open it? Right? Well, this shows they're really going to go with it, because if they're sending it to Aldous, that means it's going to be on SmackDown too. That means that they want, over the next 10 days, they want people to wonder who's going to be in this fucking box. And here is the story, is, as a lot of people know, and I'll try to tell it briefly if you don't, is that we were in a meeting one day at Vince McMahon's house, and our friend Shitstain, Vinny Russo, was there, good old Vinny Roo. And I don't even know what instance it was at that point in time. I don't think it was with Funk. They did it with Terry Funk. It might have been with Terry Funk, but nevertheless, Chainsaw Charlie. I made the comment, anybody that comes out of a box is over. And Russo just thought that was the funniest thing, and that doesn't make any sense, and blah, blah, blah. It's just hilarious. And he's told a story, and when he tells the story, he tells on himself that he doesn't understand the meaning behind shit. No, you can't just set a box out there and nobody talk about it, nobody reference it, and not call any attention to it, and then just at some random time, some guy that we've never heard of or seen before can pop out of it and, oh my God, it's great, now look at he's here. But traditionally, in wrestling all over the country, maybe all over the world, they might have done it in Mexico, I never saw it in Japan. Variations on the theme that take place. In Atlanta, it might be a box that shows up right before the big Omni show. And the fucking Anderson brothers, like, what is it? And it might be Abdullah the Butcher busts out of the box and causes 2 minutes of chaos in the studio, and it's going to be Abdullah the Butcher, the mystery partner with Wrestling 2, or whatever. Or there was one time to humiliate manager Jimmy Hart. When Lawler was a heel and Jimmy Hart was his manager, Bill Dundee brought a box out as a present for fucking Jimmy Hart. All kinds of stickers on it. I do not careful promotion. And of course, Lawler makes Jimmy get in front of him and say, let's see what's in that thing. And Cowboy Lang, the midget wrestler, busts out of the box and beats Jimmy Hart up and humiliates him. And it's Bill Dundee and a midget against Lawler and Jimmy Hart, because that way the odds are even. There's 20 million things you could do, but they always, a big star, a returning legend, a vicious bounty hunter, whatever fits the picture, is what comes out of the fucking box. And that's why anybody that comes out of a box gets over. Not an egg. The gobbledygooker didn't get over. Gobbledygooker. Because he came out of an egg, not a box. And nobody gave a shit. They'd never seen it before. Didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Again, there's a chance it could have worked if it wasn't a dancing turkey. No one was thinking what's going to hatch out of that egg. It will definitely be a giant dancing turkey who's going to square dance with Jim.
That's the thing, is whether it had been an egg or a box or a goddamn Ziploc bag, it wouldn't have mattered in that instance, because it would have been over because it didn't fit the parameters that I just discussed. But dipshit never understood that. He just thought it was silly on the face of it. Jimmy don't know what you're fucking talking about. It doesn't. But nevertheless,
What do you think it is? What do you think it is?
you know what? I hate to go out on a limb, but I'm thinking that Jericho would have this much sense of humor. Just possibly that he might think that this would be something that would be so ironic.
Just the way the Spinals have. His idea would be that he couldn't get out of the box.
You see something start to poke through, man. Help me! Help me!
Chop, chop. That would be funny if he count down. Oh, the box is open. He just kind of see if I get it captured. The person can't get out.
It's gonna be somebody that they want people to pay attention to, because they wouldn't. I don't think they would do this, and then also, again, they haven't done it on SmackDown yet, but he just said, send it to Aldous, so that Aldous will see it, and what the fuck. There's something that they want people to pay attention to, but I believe it will be a person rather than a thing. So we'll see what takes place.
It'll be Vince. Like Dr. Frank and the Vibe be Vince in the box. Just come down and be their way of reintroducing him. A lot of people tried it last night with Vince McMahon. A lot of people see something like that on Raw and they say this is like Vince McMahon stuff. We're getting more of that backstage stuff, more and more. And now, the giant box.
I guarantee you that Vince McMahon is not going to, because Vince was in the room too. He would probably think it's a real book. Vince, we've got a great idea to bring you back in a fucking box. You know what's born out? You know? No, it ain't going to be Vince McMahon in the box. You mentioned Dr. Frank. Lawler brought Dr. Frank, the guy dressed up as a Frankenstein monster. It's Ken Dillinger, as I recall that run. Threw him in the fucking crate at Memphis TV for 2 or 3 weeks, and Lance would just make comments like, I heard that thing, there's noise in there, and Lawler after an interview would knock on it, and it would come from the back, or from inside, back at him, and it would move and wiggle. And one of the days that he was in the fucking box, this is the legend I heard, was the day they had the bomb threat, and they emptied the studio, and Lawler stood there with Lance with one camera shot, and they did a 20-minute promo. While the cops looked around in the studio to make sure there wasn't a bomb before they let the people back in. They didn't want the fans at home to know that there was an issue, because then they knew they could stop the show anytime they wanted, right? By calling it a bomb threat. But nobody told Ken Dillinger it was in a box. He didn't need to be in the fucking box. Well, it was a potential explosion waiting to take place. Nobody told him until he got out of it.
If this is Jericho, do you think someone would make it right back? Is this going to bring back someone to get involved in the Elimination Chamber? Just to be on the card?
No, again, it depends on the circumstances on which the person thing busts out of the box. Who he busts out on, where he busts out of, and what he does when he busts out. It could be fucking Steve Austin. If it was the right goddamn person he was busting out in front of. You mean to tell me that if the box was on the stage at the opening of the Elimination Chamber, and there the fucking Rock walked out and started to address people, and Steve Austin busted out of the fucking box and crowned the Rock over the head with a chair, it'd be the biggest pop in the history of wrestling.
It would be inexplicable, but yes, it would be peaceful.
It would be inexplicable. They wouldn't give a shit. But the point, okay, just to my thing, if some way or another, neither Pierce nor Aldous wanted to take responsibility or possession of this fucking box, they kept bouncing it back and forth in between each other, and finally it ended up sitting in the middle of the stage, the entranceway at the Elimination Chamber. And suddenly, when it was time for number 6, mystery guy or whatever, the box flew open and it was Chris Jericho's ring. People would still throw babies. If it was a cardboard box, they wouldn't give a shit. I'm not again. I'm saying that it might be a goddamn sense of humor that one of the people involved in this would have, that they would do that. But I'm not betting the farm on it. But you can't tell me that if he came out from under a sheet, that people go out of their fucking mind.
See the conclusion of the mystery box. Maybe that's why Jericho returned to WWE, the promise of more box. But Jim, before we get back to WWE Raw, is it really going to think about what we would need box? You would need a way out.
Living in a box. Living in a cardboard box.
Everybody, we understand how to get out. You may try
You can make a box, homie.
You may try to push your way out. You may need the right boots to kick your way out of the box and kick your way through life and make sure prepare for all sorts of action, just like we with our friends at Brunt.
If you would like to go down to the latest homeless encampment and jump into a cardboard box and wear your good boots to kick your way out, you'll find that it's more comfortable kicking out your way out of a cardboard box with a front boot than any other dadgum boot that they have around town these days. And I'll tell you what, if you're out walking, if you're going to walk through the muck and the mud, they're waterproof and they're insulated and your footsies will stay warm and comfy. If you need to go up on the roof for it, the slick stuff like the snow and the ice and the slush and the sleet and the crumble. Well, they've got treads on the bottom of where you can back walk up the side of a building like Batman without even hardly hanging onto the rope. And not even straining through your fucking polyester costume where you can clearly see that this guy would be hanging on for dear life if it wasn't for the fact that it was a camera trick. You don't need camera tricks with front boots. You just put the boots on and wear them in front of the camera. Possibly wearing something else besides the boots, depending on who's taking the picture. But we're not here to judge. If somebody can take nude photos wearing their front boots, it's somewhat of a kind of a viral trend going on now, and you can send those nude photos of you wearing boots. Well, if the female picture can send them to hornydrive-thru@gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to the muck and the mire. The muck and the mire. We're stomping through the mud. We're making sure that no matter what we do, whether it's electrical work or cutting down a tree or going for a drive, they're stylish, they're comfortable. I love them. Jim loves them. It's one of the things that I know he always raves about off air. Yes. Because I'm get them. That's what you're supposed to do. And but you can drop in them too. And if you get in a wreck and it's your fault and you better run, what the hell? These boots, they can climb fences and go through the forest. Here's another thing about the Brunt boots. They are made and created by the founder of Brunt himself, Eric Gerard, who named these boots after friends in the trades. For example, the Marin boot. And that's probably a friend of his that got electrocuted because he wasn't wearing the proper kind of footwear. He chose to honor him. Or the Homan. Not the only Homan is the guy that he fell in quicksand and couldn't get out of it because he was wearing those cheap, lesser quality work boots instead of these waterproof, insulated boots that. And that made all the difference. His feet got so heavy, drug him right down. He was going, oh, man! Oh, man! That's not how they named those boots. And by the way, those are nice boots. That's going to be the next thing I get. Those are very, very nice boots. I'm looking at them right now. And you can check them out. And, of course, yes, we have a great deal for the listeners. And these are Jim Cornette approved. I would tell them about it if you'd let me. If they're going to BruntWorkwear.com, Brunt is spelled like anything else with a letter followed by UNT. BruntWorkwear.com, and you can see not only the heavy-duty work boots with the waterproof, soft toe, safety toe, lace-up, pull-on, you name it kind of thing, but they've got the heavy-duty pants, the jackets, built for real job site punishment. Let's say you're on the job.
Okay, so I know that there was the other video, but I just came across this when I was, closing down. with like the game list, I press down and then to the right until I hit like the game progress or played, and I go up to this Monster Hunter Wilds add-ons. There's this free one that's the character in Palico Edit. And this lets you edit your character in Palico. There's a voucher. So you redo your Hunter and Palico character creation and debut a new look when hunting. Select the voucher from the save data selection screen to change the appearance and voice of the existing hunter. So let's download this. Right, and then it should be installed. So now if I go to play the game, and I got the thing, it's ready to use. Excuse me. So you need one of those vouchers, and then when you get to which screen is it? I have the PSN. Close, so that's installed properly. I'll go to start game. And then, so I can see at the very bottom, character edit voucher 3 of 3, Palico edit voucher 3 of 3. So if I hit square, this is where I can edit the character. And here's where I can change like the voices again. So you should have access to this right away. You'll be able to make some adjustments. So you can change the voice and also the voice pitch. And you don't even have to like edit your character anyway. Just like you can get to